So, Glenn, give us a sense. In addition, by the way, to the election, we also had some jobs numbers that come out at the end of the week, and they were quite heartening, although there are still 10 million, over 10 million Americans who don't have a job who did before the pandemic. Give us your sense of the economy right now, and what does it need going forward, no matter who the president is?
Well, David, the jobs numbers do indicate a bounce back, particularly in private sector employment, which was higher. As you know, there was a government retraction, but we've got a long way to go. We have not bounced back anywhere close, as you said, to a 10 million jobs short. And economists view, I think, that the level of output won't recover until well into, if not late next year, relative to what it was this past February. So we've got a long way to go. What the economy needs at the moment, obviously, is first and foremost getting the virus under control. That's prophylactic practices in the near term. It's a vaccine in the medium run. But we also need a more fiscal support. I was heartened to see that there is a discussion of a package that could include things like aid to states, beefing up unemployment insurance compensation, and I would hope some assistance for small and mid-sized businesses as well. That's, I think, what we need in the midterm.
So I think just about everybody at this point agrees we need to get some more stimulus here, fiscal stimulus. We heard, in addition, from Jay Powell, the chairman of the Fed, saying just that this week. Give us a sense, with the election, where it is right now, not fully resolved, but it looks like we know where it's going. Is that going to make that stimulus more likely or less likely? And I guess as important, when?
Well, I think there's every reason to believe it could be relatively quick, if more modest. So, for example, a few months ago, several colleagues and I had suggested another $1 trillion would be on order. That seems to be a number that the two sides are talking about. That's well under the numbers that were talked about just before the election. But that would give a good start, and it would give a chance to come back to it. So I'm optimistic that the Biden transition team, if that's what happens, and Leader McConnell, if that's what happens, can try to work things out.
So, as you say, if that's what happens, let's assume for the moment that we do have a President Biden taking office January 20th. He had a lot of, I can say, robust programs of dealing with the economy and some taxes to go along with it. At the same time, if he cannot get a commanding lead in the Senate, it's not clear he can do that. So how much of what he ran on can he implement as president if he is, in fact, in the Oval Office?
Well, some will depend on rules. On the tax side, if he has a majority of the Senate, he could use what's called reconciliation and do some tax bills that could last for 10 years. It won't accomplish his spending objectives. I think a more reasonable outlook might be delaying large tax increases. We are, after all, in the middle of an incipient recovery, and focusing first on a recovery package, and then what I would think of as a renewal package, actually helping many working Americans with training, with income support, and trying to get the country going again. I think that would get more bipartisan support. That could be physical, like infrastructure, but more to the point, it's like education or training, say a bolstering of community colleges and really focusing on working men and women. I think that has bipartisan appeal.
Right now, Glenn, I think it looks like the president's going to have to govern from the middle. No matter what. The one thing that seems clear from this election is the people basically got together and said, we don't like the far right, we don't like the far left, we'd like something in between. Where could there be common cause? You mentioned infrastructure. Is that a source of common agreement, perhaps, between the parties? Are there others?
Well, I think infrastructure could be common agreement. It would be a stretch to say that it is so at the moment. But I think focusing on problems facing working class Americans, which go the gamut from training to support for low-wage work, to aid to some places in the country that have been left behind in the shifts toward technological change and globalization. These are all things that we can do, and they don't, to me, have a Democrat or Republican feel to it. They're good economics. They should also be good politics, given what we're seeing in the polls surrounding the race. So I would hope that's governing from the middle. Trying to do more extreme programs on either the right or the left don't seem like they would have the political support.
Glenn, one thing that has no partisan orientation that I'm aware of is COVID-19. It is a non-discriminatory afflictor, in effect. Is there something we can do economically to address COVID-19? That is, do we need more money for testing, for tracing, things like that? Certainly that COVID-19 is affecting our economy.
We do. I mean, the quickest way we can get the economy better is obviously to get the virus under control. Now, part of that waits for a vaccine, But we do have the need for public support for the public health care system, for example. We need more funds for testing and tracing. This has been around for some time. A number of proposals are out there to do that. And I would hope that whatever package a president or president-elect could agree on with the Congress would involve that.
So, Glenn, in addition to the election, in addition to the jobs numbers, we also had the Federal Reserve meeting and deciding, and Jay Powell giving a news conference this week. The Federal Reserve has been front and center for the economy for some time now, necessarily so. As we look forward to the next 4 years, can we expect that perhaps the Fed is not quite so central because essentially maybe the Fed's done what it can do?
Well, I think the Fed will still be central. The conduct of monetary policy is important, and the Fed has said that it would keep its low interest rate environment for a while. But I continue to believe that we've asked way too much of the Fed. And I share Chair Powell's view that we should be asking the Congress for more fiscal support. It's not just that monetary policy isn't the best medicine, and it's not. The fiscal support would be better. It's that it also runs the risk of overinflating asset prices. It runs the risk of fanning income inequality and wealth inequality. So I think we ought to let the Fed fix crises when they occur, let the Fed conduct a reasonable monetary policy, but not count on it to always be the economy's savior.
Glenn, you're an economist. I'm not asking you to be a political analyst. At the same time, some people say that there are places, such as Europe, for example, where it appears that fiscal and monetary policy are more coordinated. UK as well. That seems to be true. We saw that this week. Is there some hope in this new world that we can coordinate better? Because we've had at least 3 different sources now. We've had the Treasury with Secretary Mnuchin and President Trump. We've had Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House. And then we've had Mitch McConnell and the Republicans in the Senate. It seems like we had at least 3 different players here.
Well, the advantage of our kind of democracy is sometimes that tension is worthwhile. I think there will be more coordination of fiscal and monetary policy in the sense that some of the Fed's newer programs do involve credit risk and Treasury involvement. So in a sense, that is going on. So I think the identity of whoever the new Treasury Secretary is to work with Chair Powell is going to be an extremely important one for markets and the economy.